palm wine test. In the heart of Ogun State, nestled among rolling hills and whispering forests, lay the village of Agbo-Ile. It was not the biggest village in the region, nor the wealthiest, but it was known far and wide for one thing: palm wine. Not just any palm wine, but the kind that tasted like laughter, danced on the tongue like music, and left behind stories sweeter than honey. The man behind this reputation was Baba Tunde. His real name was Tunde Alagbala, but no one called him that anymore. He had earned the title Baba, not just because of his age, but because of the respect he commanded. He was tall and lean, with a beard that reached his chest and eyes that seemed to see through men's hearts. He spoke rarely, but when he did, everyone listened, including the village elders. Baba Tunde had been tapping palm wine for over 40 years. Some said he learned the skill from his grandfather, others said the forest spirits taught him. Whatever the truth, his palm wine was unmatched. Market women from other villages came to buy it in clay pots, chiefs sent messengers bearing gifts just for a taste, and during festivals, people lined up from dawn just to get a gourd. But time, like the river, never stops flowing. Baba Tunde was growing old, his bones ached more with each morning. His hands, once steady as a hunter's arrow, now trembled slightly. His steps had become slower, and even the act of climbing the tapping tree was now impossible. The villagers began to notice. Some whispered in worry. Others began to eye the tall palm trees behind Baba Tunde's hut with quiet ambition. One Harmattan evening, as the red sun dipped low behind the Iroko trees, Baba Tunde sat outside his hut, watching the smoke curl from the village fires. Beside him sat Adiola, his granddaughter, who often helped him carry palm wine to the market. "Papa," she said softly, "who will tap the trees when you're gone?" Baba Tunde was silent for a long moment. If you're loving this video, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps us bring you more awesome content. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you won't miss a thing. We're so happy to have you with us. And if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community. His voice dry, like rustling leaves. That is the question, my child. And it is time we find the answer. The very next morning, Baba Tunde sent word across the village. He asked the town crier, a loud and energetic man named Baba Kekere, to beat the talking drum and announce a meeting at the village square by sunset. The message spread quickly. "All able young men of Agbo-Ile, come to the village shrine by the Iroko tree. Baba Tunde, the master of palm wine, has an important message to deliver." By evening, the square was full. Young men, some proud and boastful, others curious and hopeful, gathered around the ancient Iroko tree that stood tall beside the shrine of Ogun, the god of iron and work. The elders sat in their usual places, leaning on their staffs and chewing bitter cola. Women stood at a distance, whispering to one another and trying to guess what was about to happen. Baba Tunde arrived last. He walked slowly but with dignity, his carved staff tapping gently on the red earth. He was dressed in a white wrapper, with a brown agbada draped over his shoulder, his gray beard neatly combed. When he stood before the people, silence fell like a heavy blanket. "My children," he began, "you all know why we are here. For many years I have served this village with the work of my hands. The palm trees have spoken to me, and I have listened. I have given you wine during harvest, at weddings, at naming ceremonies, and even during funerals. But I am no longer strong. My legs do not carry me as they used to. My time as a tapper is ending." A few young men nodded respectfully, others exchanged his glances. "But this is not work you take simply because you are strong." Baba Tunde continued. "Palm wine tapping is not only about climbing a tree. It is about understanding the spirit of the land. It is about patience, respect, and silence. If you do not respect the tree will not give you its best." He paused, letting his words sink in. Then he raised a small calabash filled with wine. 3 days from now," he said, "I will choose my successor, but first, I will test you." A murmur passed through the crowd. "You will each tap from one of the sacred trees behind the shrine. For 3 days, you will collect wine. On the 4th day, we will gather here again, and your wine will be tasted by the elders. The one who brings not only the sweetest wine, but the most honest wine, the one whose wine carries the spirit of the tree, shall be the next tapper of Agbo-Ile." The young men exchanged excited looks. It was a chance to rise in the village, to gain respect, and to inherit the blessing of Baba Tunde's name. Among the crowd stood a quiet boy named Emeka. He was not originally from Agbo-Ile. His mother had come from the east and married a man from the village many years ago. Emeka was known for his silence and his gentleness. He spent most of his time helping the blacksmith or tending to goats. Many had never seen him climb a tree, and so no one paid him much attention. But Emeka's eyes were fixed on Baba Tunde, and in his heart something stirred, something deep and calm, like a river flowing beneath the earth. At first light the next morning, the chosen young men assembled behind the shrine, just as Baba Tunde had instructed. There were 8 of them in total. Each one stood tall with confidence. Some even carried their own ropes and knives, eager to show off their strength and speed. Emeka stood quietly among them, holding only a calabash and a small gourd of water. They saw him. Some of the boys looked at Emeka. One of them whispered with a smirk. He came with no tools. Maybe he plans to charm the wine from the tree with his eyes. They all laughed, but Emeka said nothing. Baba Tunde arrived shortly after, accompanied by 2 elders. He pointed to 3 tall palm trees that stood apart from the others. These were the sacred trees, older than most of the houses in the village. Their trunks were thick and covered in lichen, their leaves reaching toward the sky like arms raised in prayer. These trees are not like the others, Baba Tunde said. They are part of our history. The first palm wine for the founding of Agbo-Ile came from them. Tapping them is a privilege, not a right. He turned to the boys. Choose your tree. For 3 days, you must care for it and collect its wine. You must not lie, cheat, or add anything unnatural. Your work will speak for you. The boys quickly chose their trees. The stronger ones picked the tallest and straightest palms, believing they would yield the most wine. Emeka waited until thick base covered in moss. Before touching it, he removed a kola nut from his pocket, knelt down at the base of the tree, and whispered, "Spirit of the tree, I am Emeka, son of Nena. I have come to ask for your help. I will not harm you." Then he gently placed the kola nut at the roots and poured a little water onto the soil. The other boys rolled their eyes. "Is he performing marriage rites for the tree?" one of them joked. But Baba Tunde, watching from a distance, nodded silently. The next 3 days were hot and dry. Each morning, the boys arrived early and climbed their chosen trees. The air was filled with the sound of tapping, chopping, and dripping sap. Some boys cut deep in the trees, believing that the more they wounded the trunk, the more wine would flow. Herbs to sweeten the wine. A few added sugar, honey. But Emeka did things differently. He climbed his tree slowly, using a single rope tied around his waist and the trunk. Each time, before tapping, he greeted the tree. He never cut too deeply. After collecting the sap in his calabash, he would pour a small libation to the earth in thanks. In the evenings, he stored the wine in a clean clay pot and covered it with palm leaves. He did not add anything to it. By the 3rd day, the other boys were confident. They laughed and boasted among themselves. "Mine is so sweet, the gods will dance after tasting it. I added ginger, just a pinch. You'll see." Only Emeka remained quiet. He sat alone beneath his tree, listening to the wind rustle through the leaves. That night, as the moon rose above Agbo-Ile, Baba Tunde sat outside his hut with the elders. He sipped from his personal gourd and said, "Tomorrow we shall see who has listened to the trees." The 4th morning broke with golden light spreading across the village. The air was filled with excitement. Market women abandoned their stalls early, and children ran barefoot through the dusty paths. By midday, the village square was full. The elders sat in their traditional seats beneath the Iroko tree. The talking drum was silent now. It was time for judgment. Baba Tunde, wearing a freshly starched white agbada and red cap, walked slowly into the square, carrying a carved staff in one hand and a tasting calabash in the other. Behind him walked Adeola, his granddaughter, holding a clean, empty gourd. The 8 young men stood proudly in a line. Each of them had placed his palm wine in a covered clay pot before him. The pots were tied with raffia leaves and marked with symbols to show their names. Baba Tunde stepped forward. "Today," he said, his voice steady and strong despite his age, "we drink not just palm wine, but the spirit behind it. Let truth be in your wine. To the first, let honesty be." An elder opened it, stirred it gently, and poured a small amount into the calabash. Baba Tunde sipped. He frowned slightly. "This wine is strong," he said, "but it is too sharp. There is something added." The elder beside him sniffed and nodded. "Sugar, and maybe ginger." The young man stepped back, his confidence shaken. The next few pots were similar. One wine was too watery, another was too sweet. One had a strange smell, like fermentation gone wrong. Each time the elders shook their heads. A few villagers began to murmur. Some of the boys looked nervous now, sweat glistening on their foreheads. Then it was Emeka's turn. He stepped forward, calm and quiet. His pot was plain, wrapped with a simple strip of white cloth. When the elder opened it, a soft, sweet aroma rose into the air. Even before tasting it, people leaned forward. A faint scent of earth and fruit, gentle but rich, filled the space. The calabash was filled. Baba Tunde took a sip and paused, his eyes closed for a moment. Then he drank again. "This," he said quietly, "is the wine of the land." He passed the calabash to the elders. Each one tasted, each one nodded, some even smiled. "It is like a song," one said. "It reminds me of my father's wine," another whispered. The chief elder rose slowly. He raised his walking stick high and declared, "Among these wines, only one carries truth, only one carries the spirit of the palm. Emeka, son of Nena, you have shown us that tradition is not in the hands alone, but in the heart." The villagers erupted in applause. Some cheered, others shouted Emeka's name. The other boys, though disappointed, bowed respectfully. Even they could not deny that Emeka's wine had something special, something beyond technique. Baba Tunde stood before Emeka and placed his staff in the boy's hands. "From today, you are the keeper of the sacred trees," he said. "You will not just tap wine, you will preserve his head to the earth. I will serve with honor," he said. In the days that followed, Emeka's life changed. People who had once ignored him now greeted him with warmth. Elders began to stop him on the path, offering advice and stories from their youth. Market women gave him the best yams and the juiciest mangoes, saying, "This one has ears for the spirits." But Emeka did not allow pride to enter his heart. He continued to wake early each morning. Before the sun touched the tops of the trees, he would be at the grove, whispering greetings to the palms and making quiet offerings of kola nut and water. He never used shortcuts. He cleaned his clay pots with river sand and rinsed them with hot water and leaves, just like Baba Tunde had taught. He never added sugar, never spiced the wine, never forced the sap to flow. He let the tree give what it wanted. Soon, people from other villages began to arrive again. But now they didn't just come for the sweetness of the wine. They came to learn. Young men sat around Emeka as he taught them the right way to climb, to tap, to wait. "The wine is not yours," he would tell them. "It belongs to the tree, and the tree belongs to the earth. If you lie to the tree will lie to you." One day, a proud young man from a neighboring village challenged Emeka. He boasted that he could tap more wine in one day than Emeka could in 3. He even brought his own sweeteners and herbs, saying, "The people want taste, not tradition." Emeka simply smiled and said, "Then let us let the elders taste." Another small gathering was held. The villagers came again. The elders sipped both wines, just as they had done before. The result was the same. The elders said of Emeka's wine, "It is calm, it is deep, it tells no lies." The proud boy's wine was sweet but flat, empty, somehow, lacking in depth. The message was clear: tradition is more than taste. It is about process, respect, and the unseen. Years passed. Baba Tunde passed away peacefully, surrounded by song and prayer. Emeka carried his staff to the burial and poured a gourd of palm wine onto the earth as tribute. He wept, not just for the old man, but for the wisdom he had passed down. By the time Emeka was an old man himself, children in the village called him Baba Emeka. His hair turned white and his back grew bent, but he never stopped visiting the trees. He could no longer climb them, but he would sit beneath their shade and tell stories to the youth. He told them about the day of the test, about the kola nut, about the boy who listened. And the trees, those 3 sacred palms behind the shrine, still stood. Still tall, still green, still giving their wine. Because they had been respected, because tradition had been honored. And so in Agbo-Ile, people did not just drink palm wine. They drank history. They drank patience. They drank the spirit of the land. The end of the story. Please don't forget, if you're loving this video, go ahead and tap that subscribe button. It's free, and it helps us bring you more awesome content. Don't forget to turn on the bell so you won't miss a thing. We're so happy to have you with us. And if you're enjoying what you're watching, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our community. Don't forget to click the bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops. And don't forget, type on comments section which country you are watching from, and watch more on African folktale stories. Thanks.